Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's Muriel from the Sunshine Family and driving in Costa Rica, transportation in Costa Rica, basically how to get from A to B in Costa Rica. That is exactly what my video is about, and you probably are scrolling on the internet, on YouTube, looking for information about this. So I can assure you that I will tell you everything that I have learned about this topic since I moved here together with my husband Dirk and the two growing up kids in October 2018, and it has been an amazing adventure so far. So I dedicated this channel to share everything I've learned on there, with every video a new topic for you to learn a little bit more about. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this would be a nice moment to do it. You will see it, a little icon down below at the video screen. If you hit it, you can subscribe, and if you hit the bell icon, you get a notification every time I upload a new video, and probably you will be able to learn more about something that you want to learn about Costa Rica. And that was a weird sentence. By the way, I'm Dutch, so my English is totally not perfect, but I'm here to share some tips about transportation in Costa Rica. I will be covering 9 ways of transportation in Costa Rica, how to go from A to B. And also important heads up, so you have to stick to the end to my video. Don't miss anything. This can prevent you big tickets given by the traffic police. You can avoid a huge accident, and of course you can save a lot of money if you follow up with all my advice in this video. If you need to go from A to B and you want to learn more about the most cheapest ways to get the fastest way from A to B in Costa Rica. So let me just dive right in to my number one way of transportation, and that is not really that you can drive yourself, especially not when you're not a pilot, but it's a plane. So probably if you already been in Costa Rica, you know that most people land in Liberia or in San Jose. Now, I personally live at the peninsula de Nicoya in the area of Santa Teresa, which is quite not really close to San Jose. So you can go over the road and take the ferry, crossing the ocean, to come to the area Santa Teresa, which takes you about 6 hours. It depends on if you miss the ferry. It depends on how good or bad the roads are. But my number one fastest way to get from A to B, for example, if you need to go urgent to a hospital in San Jose for an emergency, or to get specific stuff in San Jose that they don't sell here, or for whatever reason you want to go from the big city to the countryside and vice versa, is to take a plane. It's the small planes. For example, a company called Sensa has plane tickets for visitors, for tourists, for around $100 to bring you to your destination. And that takes you about 35 minutes instead of half a day of traveling. So that is something that I discovered a little bit later, I think about half a year after I arrived here. So this can save you a lot of time if you're not on a budget. So my tip number 2 is, or my tip number 2, vehicle number 2 is public transport. The Tico bus, we call it the Tico bus, and my kids use the Tico bus. Or let's say my boy doesn't want to go with the Tico bus, he prefers the ADV, but that will be one of my next transportations that I will cover. But the benefits of the Tico bus is that it is very, very cheap. We pay to go from where we live to Santa Teresa, which is about 6 to 8 kilometers, about 500 colones, which is less than $1. So you pay the driver. It is very, very expensive, and in general, the quality of the buses are quite okay. So if you want to travel on a budget and you want to go, for example, from San Jose on a budget to the area Santa Teresa. I will name that name a lot because I know a lot of people are scrolling for Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, and because that's where I live. You can take the Tico bus from the airport area, from San Jose, or even from Liberia, but then you have to hop over at the airport area. You take the Tika bus, and that will be around $15 to $17 to get to the Santa Teresa area, instead of my tip number 3, a shuttle. There are mini buses, and we call them shuttles, and they are way handier and faster and better than I ever thought. I was always preferring thinking shuttles, they're expensive, they're not comfortable. Well, the opposite is true. Here you pay for a standard shuttle to go from San Jose, being picked up at your location in a circle around the airport. Of course, they have boundaries until which point they can pick you up. But like in general, when you stay somewhere in San Jose, you arrive there, you take the shuttle to the peninsula, the Nicoya, Santa Teresa. It takes you $50 one way, including the ferry. The thing is, they drop you off at the place where the ferry comes. That's Paquera. And then you have to take your own luggage. Then you take the ferry. It's about, if you have to pay it yourself, I'm not sure if that's including in the price, but it's about less than $2 to pay the ferry for a person with a couple of bags. And then you hop on the ferry, and at the other side in Punta Arenas, if you go to the Santa Teresa area or Montezuma or Cabuya, you take the other shuttle picking you up from over the other side of the ferry and brings you to your destination. So I have a link in the description, one of my most favorite transportation shuttles, and that's Montezuma Adventures, and they're quite awesome. And I always refer people to that because, we are in a small community here, and I like to support the local businesses. And that is my advice about shuttles. Okay, so I am more specified about transportation here in the Santa Teresa area, but I know that there are shuttles and public transport like the Tika bus and mini planes going everywhere in Costa Rica. So you have to look for your specific location to find the specific websites. But my experience with all 3 of them are awesome, but I'm not done. I am regretting to let you know that where I live, we do not have Ubers, but my transportation number 4 is the Uber, which is awesome after arrival. So you just avoid the pushy taxi drivers asking you taxi, 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 and for sure you know that you have to bargain for the local price, which you're tired and you don't want that hassle. So an Uber is the best way. If you have your smartphone, install the Uber app, and if you have somehow an internet connection so you can plug in your Uber app, or have bought a phone card so you have data on your phone, then the Uber is awesome. I use it a lot in and around San Jose, but also in the other areas like Grecia, or wherever bigger cities of Santa Teresa, of Costa Rica. There are Ubers, and they're very, very affordable. No hustle. I always pay like that. And yeah, I love it. So that brings me to tip number 5, the taxis. With respect, without taxis, where would we be? In Santa Teresa area, we would be nowhere. Because I have had, for example, we don't have Ubers. Our car was in repair. Our quad was at the garage. We didn't have a motorbike yet. All these points I will cover in a bit. So hold on, stay tight, and keep watching. But a taxi, for example, helped me to pick up my daughter when she was a little bit school sick. She was ill. She had stomach pain. She needed to go home. I couldn't pick her up with the car. We lived 1 hour away from the school. So the school asked me permission if they could call a cab, a well-known cab. It's in general people who know each other, so it's families of kids in school, but also here in the area I know plenty of cab drivers who live here. We're like neighbors and we support each other. They will always give you an honest price. And with that being said, a taxi who I swear that it's super, super handy. And you should have a couple of taxi numbers in your phone. So if you're staying with people, or you're making friends where you are, where you're staying in Costa Rica, ask them for their most favorite local taxi driver and connect with them, and ask the person that you spoke about, him or her, that taxi driver, if you can use that number, and just, you know, be referred by them, so you are assured that you get an honest price. So the taxi drivers. So let me give you a heads up in between what's really, really important. No, hold on. I will just first continue the story, and then I will give you a heads up about the roads and the weather, etc., which can totally influence the price of everything. So, but I'm almost there. Then we have the car, right? In Costa Rica, not everyone has a car. If you are a tourist, right, you probably have a rental car. And if you live here, not everyone needs a car. A lot of people have a car. Now it's important to know a couple of things about the car that you're driving, that you're buying, and that you're renting, okay? And about all the other cars around you. Where I live, so depending on the area where you're gonna visit, where you're gonna live, look at the roads. At the peninsula, the Nicoya area, Santa Teresa, the roads are in general the worst of the whole country. So what do you see here? A lot is Toyota old-timers. It's those cars that survived the Afghanistan desert. And there's a lot of car parts here from Toyotas. And they're basically, it's cars without any computers. Everything that can break down will break down here if the roads are in the worst condition. And that's after wet season, a lot of holes in the road, like you see just cars, parts break off, like literally you see sometimes cars at the side of the road with wheels that have fallen off, and things just fall apart here. Can you imagine if you just do a bumpy road to Santa Teresa from where I live, and the road are crappy, everything that can get loose, like all little, how do you say that, parts, they just vibrate, and they just get loose, and you can literally lose car parts. This is, so we drive a Range Rover. If you scroll on the channel, then you probably can find a video made by my husband about a Range Rover. But we drive an old timer too, where we have a car part guy here. So you need to really inform yourself before you buy a car. But if you are here vacationing, don't you worry about a thing. Just rent a good car, but drive careful, because the roads are not as you're used to. Even where we live, we don't even have traffic lights. So you can imagine that it's like we have to do it with each other. So drive safe, don't speed, and just, you know, adjust to that this is a different country that you're used to driving. A lot of our car accidents happen because people speed and they're in a hurry, especially tourists and vacationing people. They bring their stress from back home. Yeah, I'm vacationing now. And then just they don't adjust to the speed that we do. Here at the Peninsula de Nicoya, we drive about 30, 35, 40, but everything above the 40, it's gonna be very, very dangerous, because you cannot anticipate if someone is just passing you. You have to be pulled to the side of the road, but there's a big road, there's a big rock, there might be a big hole, and people literally crash. So that's not what you want. Be careful, drive slow. If you're gonna live here, you need to look into old timers, but that will be another video. For now, I'm not gonna go into that. But my most favorite vehicle is vehicle number 7, the ADV, also called the quad. And those are the 3 wheels monsters that I always thought about. Wow, why do you need such a thing? In the Netherlands, I saw some driving over the public roads. Well, now I get it. If you live in a rural area like the Southern Peninsula, for example, Ossa, or at the Peninsula de Nicoya, where we have a lot of dirt roads, not paved roads, you are able to, with your existing driver's license, you are allowed to drive a quad or an ADV. And these vehicles are awesome. You have them with or without 4-wheel drive. They're very, very popular for tourists, but also very, very dangerous for tourists, because again, they don't know the roads, they drive too fast, they don't wear helmets, and it is dangerous. it's not that you cannot fall over with a quad. But what is the benefit of the quad? Well, what I love about the quad is that they can stand the torture of the bad roads in the worst condition. They're made for it, right? And if you maintain your quad, if you buy a quad, I have so many more tips, but I want to keep this video short and smooth. If you buy a quad, I recommend you to buy it new. Yeah, I just do. Of course, you don't have the budget, or you don't want to spend the budget, but on the long run, if you are living here or you're going to stay here for about half a year to a year, you know, being depending on your vehicle, getting from A to B. Personally, I drive with 2 kids, sometimes with 2 dogs, sometimes a friend of one of my youngest hops on the quad. I always have helmets, and I want to rely on the vehicle. Even when I have to drive like this, I need my 4-wheel drive, and I need to rely on it. It's pretty impossible to know what's hidden on the inside in areas such as at the peninsula de Nicoya, where we are surrounded with 3 parts of water, of ocean, 3 sides. That's why it's called the peninsula. There's a lot of salt in the air. So, you know, on the inside, stuff just breaks down. It just eats up the metal. It eats up the quality of your vehicle. So they might look shiny in those second-hand Facebook groups, like, you know, for offer, second-hand quad. They might look shiny on the outside. They can be totally damaged on the inside. So if you do rent a quad, be sure you rent it from an official renter. Here in Santa Teresa, there are many. Reach out to me if you want to have personal advice. I can refer to one of my friends. With that being said, if you buy a second-hand quad, always ask for the maintenance checkup reports. So I, for example, bought a new ADV at the Honda dealer with Andrea here in Kobono at the Peninsula de Nicoya. And I maintain my quad every, I think, 300 to 500 kilometers. And they check everything, they repair little things, they check the oil, the water, and the insides, the brakes, the 4-wheel drive, and that make my quad safe. So if you buy it secondhand, if I ever would sell my quad, it's worth more in price, because I can show the proof that every 2 months or 3 months, I brought it to the garage and they just totally fixed it. So that is my most favorite vehicle. By the way, in rainy season, you get super wet, so wet. And I tell you, a water suit doesn't work here. So just if you don't mind rain, I come from the Netherlands, then you will love the quad. But if you hate it, you will love to stick to the car and be dry. That brings me to vehicle number 8. We recently bought one, a motorbike. Now, what do you know, should you know about motorbikes? I think they're the most dangerous vehicles here. Most accidents, deadly accidents, happen with motorbikes. It's a fact. It's a simple, naked fact. And funny enough, still a lot of people do not wear helmets. I always recommend everyone, and I'm my best example. People know me in town for wearing my helmets, you know, pressing on the hearts of my kids to always wear helmets. And if you don't wear a helmet driving on a motorbike, you know, it's just crazy. It's just suicide. What you need to know about motorbikes, the benefits of motorbikes are, and I think this is more for if you live here. I think when you're vacationing in Costa Rica, don't ride motorbikes, because you need to, there's something itchy in my nose. There's mosquitoes, and I don't know, there's something in the air, or I get like sneezy. I need to do this. And you know, I do not edit my video, so you see me scratching my nose, which is pretty weird. By the way, before I continue talking about motorbikes, if you meanwhile are wondering, how do you live in Costa Rica and make a living? Where do you live from, right? Well, it's easy. Click the very first link in the description to learn more. I'm not going to explain it here, but I am a digital nomad. I can live and work wherever, because I have skills to work online and being able to earn my income from wherever I can work the hours that I want, as long as I have an internet connection, a laptop, and a smartphone. And I do a lot of affiliate marketing, basically selling other people's products, which people buy anyways. But with that being said, I'm not going to go into details. It is super possible these days, because in the Santa Teresa area, we have glass fiber internet, super, super fast. So that allows you, if you would master the skills to market online, to live here and earn your income, not depending on a stupid job in a bar, which pays really, really crappy, especially in Costa Rica. So yeah, click the very first link in the description below. But I was talking about motorbikes, right? Motorbikes. What you need to know about motorbikes: advantages. They are the cheapest way of transportation with a motor. Like, how do you say that? Fastest way and cheapest way. So they are cheap in maintenance. They're cheap in gas. And but if your body is really valued, worth a lot to you, then wear a motorbike. Don't bargain on I meant a helmet. Don't bargain on buying a good helmet, and even consider to wear leg, knee, and elbow protection. So if you ever fall, that it's not like, well, we call it skin scrapers. So I think the imagination takes over when I say the word skin scraper, right? You're not protected on a motorbike, but yeah, it's awesome. We have one now. Oh, and by the way, with this is what I was told, but like the rules and regulations can be confusing in Costa Rica. What I've been told is when you buy a 150cc motorbike, we have a Honda, then you are allowed on the dirt roads to drive it without a motorbike license, but with your general driver's license. Don't pin me on this rule. Do your due diligence. It might be true. The rules might have been changed the moment that you watch this video, but I have been told that's the truth. So, but the big crossing motors and the more CC, you know, I think, and you really do, in order to drive that safe in general, you need your driver's license, especially for motorbikes. So that brings me to vehicle number 9, to close the vehicles. And then I have important heads up, really, really, as a bonus on this video. The bike. Well, the bike, I come from the Netherlands. We are bikers. I was literally born on a bike almost. But here biking, people ask me, why don't you bike? Well, not that I don't trust myself, but I don't trust the others around me. The roads are crappy. And if they are in good shape in other pieces of Costa Rica, like near Liberia and San Jose and Heredia and stuff, the roads are super cool. There's no such thing as specific roads for bikers. We do have that in the Netherlands and a lot of places in Europe, but not here, which makes it pretty dangerous to me. And I'm not going to depend on how crazy other people drive. What you see a lot happening here is people drive with their smartphones and they do voice messages and they're texting behind the wheel. Fact is, and that's the heads up. So I'm coming to the heads up now. For in Santa Teresa, it's nice to just to bike around, but pay attention, anticipate on others. A lot of drivers drive like this. It's crazy, but true. They do it on their motorbike, they do it in their car, they do it on the ADV. It's crazy. I've seen bus drivers doing it. Not that you have influence on that, but don't do it. Keep your eyes on the road, okay, and your helmet on your head. But with that being said, there is no such thing as a lot of control here, a lot of police. We have trafficos, but like, for example, what we had in the Netherlands and Europe, that you can get a bill, you can get filed, how do you say that? You have to pay when you just ignore the red traffic lights, or you're speeding or not wearing a seatbelt. Well, here, kids drive on motorbikes and there's no one controlling it at the peninsula de Nicoya. So this is like the wild, wild west. Not that I'm saying that I'm happy or stressed about it, but it's a simple fact. It's also in my advantage. So my daughter, who's almost 16, could drive an ADV without having a car license, right? Or I said that, so what's important to know is that you have to use your brains well to come home, or in your Airbnb or your hotel, safe. Okay. Also, heads up for the season. So if you're renting a car and you're visiting Costa Rica and you want to go to, for example, the Peninsula de Nicoya or the Southern Peninsula, Osa, and it's super, super wet season, the roads are so crappy, you cannot do it in 2 or 3 days. You need more, because sometimes the roads are closed. Sometimes there are holes in the roads. There could be like landslides. It could be just, I don't know, Sometimes they just literally decide to close the highway at a Sunday to repair it without any announcement. So if you're driving to transportation, if you're using transportation in Costa Rica, always pay attention to which season it is. And I'm not saying that it's way safer in dry season, because my husband Dirk and my son had an excellent in super dry season without there was any vehicle on the road. It happened with the ADV, but because of all the dust and the dry season and the dirt roads here, the fine dust made the road so slippery that he just slid through. The quad just flipped over. Our son was just flipping over as well. The quad literally bounced on the head. It just spinned, bounced on the head with helmet of Dirk to get back on its wheels again. And this is a real happened story. So they're both alive thanks to helmets. Okay, so dry season, wet season, it all slows down everything here. And even when you're driving in areas where the roads are super good quality, they can just shut off the highway to do maintenance, and then you have to have an alternative. So don't be in a hurry, take a tranquilo, don't be stressed when you're using any transportation in Costa Rica, because everything is a little bit different here than probably where you're coming from. So a very last warning for tourists who are doing rentals and stuff, and for expats who are living here, especially the area where we live, but I've seen it everywhere in Costa Rica, even near the border of Nicaragua, trafficos. You recognize them because they look different than the normal police, but they check on you. They just get vehicles off the road, no matter if you have all your papers in place. They can just give you a nasty payment to pay for having the yellow jacket not in your car, or for not wearing your seatbelt, or I don't know what. So always be polite, have your driver's license with you, and don't stress out. It's just a way of how Costa Rica works. If you can prevent meeting the trafficos, there are WhatsApp groups here in Costa Rica warning each other where the trafficos are standing. Avoid the roads, don't pass them. It's trouble, trouble, trouble. And for not wearing a helmet and not wearing the yellow belts around you on a motorbike, on a quad, is about $300 to $400, $200 each. Not wearing a helmet, not wearing the yellow band, you know, you have to pay. So use your mind, enjoy Costa Rica. Again, subscribe to the channel. This was my video about driving in Costa Rica and transportation in Costa Rica, especially in the area of Santa Teresa, because that's where I'm familiar with. And I'm looking forward to seeing your subscription, and hit the bell icon so you can enjoy my next videos. And of course, if you love to learn more about how to travel and earn an income at the same time, or even being an expat and making a substantial income using the internet, smartphone and laptop, don't hesitate. Hit the first link in the description to learn more. And I'm looking forward to meeting you somewhere at the beaches of Costa Rica. Bye. This was Muriel from the Sunshine Family. I appreciate you for watching.